Forensic Mental Health Counseling Program is a 2-year program that's designed for students who want to become licensed as licensed mental health counselors. What's largely different about a forensic mental health counseling program versus a clinical mental health counseling program, for the most part, is in your placements and in your hours that you have to complete. You do have some courses. You'll take forensic psychology coursework, psychology and law, and so on. So there's courses that focus on certain populations. There are substance abuse topical courses. You'll be taking group counseling courses that are pretty common for all clinical mental health counseling programs. So you have some specialized forensic-oriented coursework in your program, but largely a lot of the content in the courses is aligned with licensure as a licensed mental health counselor, and that licensure varies to some degree from every state, but most every state requires 60 graduate credits. So if your goal is to go and get your master's and go work, and you want to work with patients one-on-one, you need a license to do that. And the way that you get that is either a license-eligible master's like this one, or you get a doctorate. And so with this degree, you're going to actually complete 800 hours in the field. You'll be doing 200 hours of practicum over your first year and the first summer, and then you'll be doing 600 hours of internship. And the difference primarily is that the practicum is really kind of training you, and you'll be doing shadowing, and it's far less heavy lifting there. You're going to be largely seeing kind of the inner workings of a counseling placement, and you'll be getting trained. And then in your internship, you're actually going to be getting much more under the supervision of a practicing psychologist or a licensed mental health counselor, of course, but you'll be helping with more treatment and processes than you would be in the practicum side. But you'll be collectively doing 800 hours with us. Now, every state is different. So, for example, ironically, our licensure requirements meet the state of Massachusetts 100%, but the state of Rhode Island actually requires an entirely extra year of clinical supervision. So you actually have to do more hours for the state of Rhode Island based on their requirements. So even though our program is 2 years, you actually would have to extend and take 2 semesters of clinical supervision. So you can be working, and as long as those are counting as part of your hours, you have to be supervised by one of our faculty members just to make sure that you're meeting the requirements necessary for your internship. But the state will have that requirement. And fortunately, we're a small enough program that we can work with students from virtually any state to determine what your requirements are and then adjust our requirements to get a degree and also get your hours to make sure that you're eligible for license. So it's really critical. There are a lot of students, as I mentioned in one of the other videos, there are about 28 or so master's programs in the country. Of those 28, less than 10 of them actually offer a license-eligible program. So be careful that you don't get sucked into a program that sounds great. You might do an internship. It may be doing something really fun that you're interested in, but if your goal is to be licensed, and the license, again, is necessary if you want to see patients one-on-one, you have to get a 60-credit program. With very rare exception, every state virtually requires 60 credits. And in addition to those 60 credits, you need typically 2 to 3 years of professional work experience where you're working in a counseling setting under the supervision of a practicing licensed mental health counselor or a psychologist. So our program will do that. You get the 60 graduate credits, you get 800 hours of practicum and field work. And again, as I was talking about in another video about forensic psychology more broadly, you want to select a program that gives you internship opportunities that you're interested in. And not only interested in, but will get you to jobs that in forensic psychology ultimately when you become licensed. And so we have placements like in the Massachusetts Treatment Center for Sexually Dangerous Persons. We have Federal Corrections Institute in Massachusetts as well. It's a little bit of a drive, but we've had students who want to do more federal work. That's a great way to open those doors. There's a number of counseling centers in our area that their client load is specifically people involved in the justice system. So it's victims of crime, it's family members of those that are incarcerated, maybe it's even folks that are incarcerated. It's juveniles that maybe are troubled youth. So there's a lot of different types of placements in counseling work there. Some will work in the courts. We also have a forensic hospital here in Rhode Island that's court-ordered kind of mental illness. So we have students that will intern there. There's a number of medical centers that will hire our students. So the placements that we have kind of are very diverse, and they spread across a variety of different types of forensic disciplines. But you want to make sure that whether it's our program or another, you're selecting a program that will give you placements that are related to what you're interested in. And as you're looking at programs now, it's important to start understanding, if you don't already, what your interest is in terms of what population you want to work with, and maybe what their intersection with the system may be. So, for example, you may say, I want to work with juveniles who have been sexually abused, or I want to work with abusers who are much older, for example, or maybe you want to work with people that are alcohol dependent or some sort of substance dependent, and maybe you're involved in the system. Maybe you want to work in the court specifically with people that are currently on trial. Maybe you want to work in the prisons with specific populations. So really identifying what those populations are, ages, as well as maybe male, female, types of crime that may be involved with, or if they're victims of crime. All of those things are important in determining how we can help place you in the appropriate internship opportunity. And this program, to get done in 2 years, you'll see many clinical mental health counseling programs are 3 years. To get it done in 2 years, we actually have you take very heavy course load in your first semester, and then your second semester you start getting a little bit of practicum opportunity. And then you take 2 classes plus your practicum continues in the summertime, so you actually don't take the summer off. You go right through that middle summer. And then that second year, you're largely in the field 20 hours a week as part of your internship, and then you take usually 2 or 3 classes either in the evenings or online to complete your degree within that 2 years. So you have a lot of flexibility with that. Now, roughly, and I'm estimating, but we've added the 60 credit program. We've had forensic psychology education at Roger Williams for about 13 years. And we added the 60 credit program, I think this is now our 4th cohort coming in this fall. And the students thus far, roughly a quarter of them coming out of the 60 credit program have chosen to go on to PsyD programs. And what's really nice about that for these students is that because they've done certain types of coursework in this more applied program, plus they have done 800 hours or more in practicum and internship hours, it's actually set them a little bit further in PsyD programs. Some PsyD programs are giving them credit for some of the courses they've taken and for some of the hours, because a PsyD is a very applied degree and you're doing a lot of hours with them as well. So if your goal is maybe to get a doctorate still, but you don't want a PhD because you don't want to do research, but you want a more applied doctorate, and the doctorate opens up more opportunities. Ultimately, if you want to work in the courts and do criminal assessments and be able to serve as an expert witness and do therapy and those types of things in the prisons, you're going to need a doctorate anyhow. So you may opt to do your PsyD and go right into that, and because you've given yourself a leg up through some of the coursework and the hours in the 60 credit program, you're shortening your investment of time and money at the PsyD level. So that's been a great opportunity, and we've been surprised. About 40% of our initial cohort went that direction, and it varied every year on how many students have gone on to programs. We've put students in University of Denver, PsyD. William James is fairly common. They're formerly the Massachusetts School of Professional Psychology. They're in the Boston area. We have one student in Indiana State right now. So there's been a number of different options where our students have ended up. Wright State is another one. So depending on what you're interested in, the 60 credit program can be a great fit for a PsyD, but ultimately for most of you, the Forensic Mental Health Counseling program is to get you into the field. And so 60 credits will meet most states, although let us know we're a small enough program where we can alter the program curriculum as necessary to make sure that you have the courses that you need. So the earlier you know, the better. If you know, like, I'm going to Indiana when I graduate, we'll look at the requirements for Indiana and ultimately make sure we line you up for that program, and then you ultimately can go work and become licensed. And just this past spring, we had students getting their licensure from our first cohort, because they're about 2 years out from when they graduated, and they went and worked and now are becoming licensed mental health counselors, and that's the ultimate goal of this program. So if you want that opportunity to become a clinical mental health counselor, but do it in a forensic setting and really have an understanding of the forensic populations, then a forensic mental health counseling program that offers 60 credits is a good fit for you. And again, there's only a handful of these programs in the country. So you want to select these programs based on the best fit for you, but ultimately ensuring that you're selecting a 60 credit program to get you licensed and allow you to practice one-on-one regardless if you go on to get your doctorate. So I hope that was a helpful overview. Please take a look at our website, ask us questions. If you're participating in the live conference, please ask us questions in the booth. We'll be on there for the live chat throughout the duration of the conference. And otherwise, please feel free to reach out to. We'd love to talk to you more.